Let's take some deep breaths. Always such a good way to start anything. Just to pause for a moment, pull our breath in deeply, bringing our attention into center, into our self, awakening the wisdom mind, and then letting the breath go, releasing distractions so we can be fully present for whatever is happening in the moment. So, welcome back. Those of you that are following me, it took a few days to get back here because I had a big computer challenge, but all is well now. I think it was Mercury retrograde for those of you who follow the stars. It was crazy. And after the universal influence shifted, my computer worked. So what the heck? Anyways, I'm here today. This is lesson number 3 in Yoga 101. And I wanted to just address, and I am going to stick with my 10 minutes. In fact, here's my timer going, start. Address why I feel it's really important to pay attention to alignment in our asana practice. And there are options to that. So I just attended a lovely practice last night taught by a friend that didn't speak to alignment at all, didn't individualize the postures at all, didn't modify, didn't come around and work with anyone, but there was a lot of permission given to relax. It was an evening practice. It was all about relaxing in different positions, okay? And lots of permission given to stay as long as you want, come out when you need to. And yes, I did a lot of different poses that weren't the suggested pose, but that was okay. The important thing is to be important. I'm sorry, the most important thing, that's it, to be important. The most important thing is to feel safe in your asana. So when you are practicing Hatha Yoga, so let's review what is Hatha Yoga. Hatha, energy of the masculine and the feminine coming into balance, okay? Energy of the sun, heated, focused, direct, and the moon, cooling, softening, diffused. And we want to find this dance between the two throughout the asana practice, Hatha Yoga. What Hatha Yoga is comprised of, if you can remember from the last teaching, is movement of the body, asana, attention to the breath, pranayama, and drawing our attention inward, pratyahara. Okay? So those are the three ways that the three aspects of the 8 limbs of yoga that really comprise Hatha Yoga. Now, I am one that has learned through my teachers about the importance of maintaining and enhancing the natural curvatures of the spine. And I'll tell you why. I began my yoga. I'm not even sure what kind of approach was being taught, but it was probably an Iyengar approach. My first teacher back at the University of Utah in 1978. That was my first formal class after getting inspired to learn about yoga. And I gosh, fix my hair here. Sorry. There was a lot of attention to detail, and we held the poses a long time, and I learned a lot about how to align my body. And then I practiced that way for a couple of years, and the other teachers that I came into contact with over time didn't necessarily speak to alignment specifically, but I had gotten that initial foundation of really paying attention to how I held my joints and my spine. And then I was kind of bored with the practice. I was in my 20s. We were holding poses a long time. I wanted something else, so I ended up being introduced to Ashtanga yoga. And this is a traditional Ashtanga yoga practice as passed down from Pattabhi Jois, which is a very specific series of postures done each time with a focus on compression and opening to cleanse the body. There wasn't a lot of attention to detail in the alignment of how we got into those poses. In fact, the hands-on involved in Ashtanga yoga was sometimes quite forceful, and I did get injured quite a few times in that practice, although I loved that practice for several years because it was very invigorating. It was very fiery. I was in my pitta time of life, which is my 20s. So it fit my energy. And luckily, I was built for that practice because I'm short torsoed and long limbed. So Ashtanga yoga is really what motivated the occurrence of vinyasa yoga, what we now call vinyasa yoga or flow yoga. But the traditional was Ashtanga yoga as taught by Patabi Joyce. And then we started learning, okay, let's go through the poses, 5 breaths each pose. Then in the West, it was like 5 quick breaths. And so we're going way too fast through the postures to even have an opportunity to get into alignment. And therefore, the postures were collapsed or not fully experienced. The channels of energy weren't being opened, although I have to say, that practice did serve me for a long time. And then I was getting injured. I was going so deep into my joints with all the wrapping and expansion and the tendency to go further and further into the pose. Um, I was, my joints were injured. My joints were too loose in my shoulders, too loose in my hips. My SI joint was unstable. And that is when I moved to Montana and I was introduced to Iyengar yoga techniques by Judith Lassiter. And it was all about structure and alignment and really going deep into understanding the skeletal structure and the muscular structure of the body. And Judith is a practicing physical therapist as well. And it brought me back to my core. It helped realign my shoulders so they weren't falling out of joint. It took away my sacroiliac pain because I learned about stability, not just flexibility. So that's an important thing. We want our asana to enhance our flexibility, our strength, and our stamina. And we need all three, right? So we don't want to only do restorative yoga because then we don't build our stamina. We don't want to just stretch the heck out of our body because then we lose stability. We also don't want to just use our yoga for strength or just do weight training practice and then we have no flexibility. So we need all three in balance. And yes, it's a lot to take care of. And a little bit every day goes a long way. So the idea of maintaining and enhancing the natural curvatures of the spine is what I call Tadasana in every pose. And I'm going to put a link here to my video that's just under 10 minutes that takes you all the way through the 10 points of Tadasana. And if you don't know those 10 points of Tadasana, then I recommend that you go through. Sorry, this is really distracting me. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. I'm sorry. If you don't know the 10 points of Tadasana or you haven't really dialed in your own form of Tadasana, functional alignment in a standing position, please attend to that video over and over and over again until you get that pattern in your mind. You know what you're looking for in your body as alignment, and then you can take that into every single pose. Okay, it doesn't change. You'll get to know how to move your pelvis. What is anterior tilt? What is neutral? What is posterior tilt? One of the first places I start in a Haṭha Yoga class is understanding where's your pelvis. And my teacher, again, Judith, teaches a whole course on it's all about the pelvis. And so when the pelvis is aligned properly, then the curvatures of the spine can align properly. It's not a straight spine, right? You've got your sacrum, and then you've got your anterior lumbar curve, and then a very gentle posterior thoracic curve, and then an anterior cervical curve. So if those curves are out of balance, like looking down all the time at your devices, we're losing our cervical curve. Slumping in your chair, you're losing your lumbar curve. So important to really focus on the curvatures of the spine and then range of motion of the joints. So when we create range of motion, our shoulders and our hips, these are known as the gateways of mobility, then your spine can move. If your shoulders are tight or your hip joints are tight, you can't really move the pelvis into neutral easily. Your spine doesn't have the fluidity that it needs to move in all directions. So this is another aspect to think about in your practice is move your spine in all directions. So Think about this. This is the end of my 10-minute spiel today on maintaining and enhancing the natural curvatures of your spine and opening the gateways of your shoulders and hips. So you want to move your spine every day into flexion, which is rounding, extension, back bending. Know what neutral is, lateral flexion, so you're going side to side, and then rotation. So forward, back, side to side, and twist. That is how I focus on my yoga class practices. My own Hatha Yoga practices move the spine in all directions. And then we can attend to, are we doing it for flexibility or strength or stamina, but always attending to that alignment. And then throughout the course of your day, how you sit, how you walk, how you stand, when you're in your car, when you're doing the dishes, when you're lifting boxes, when you're holding a baby, all the things that we do day to day, we're going to be aware of our body, our muscle memory will remember, oh, I'm slumping, I need to lift up. Oh, I'm collapsing, lift up. Gravity will pull us down. So we need to have our muscle memory in place so it feels that pulling down and naturally wants to pull back up. Okay? So notice how you're holding yourself throughout the day. And so your light work today is to really watch that. Everything you do, you reach down to get something off the floor. Are you leaning forward with a rounded back? Are you coming forward with a hinge and using the strength of your hips and legs? Right? Are you keeping your heart open when you drive your car? Notice your alignment throughout the day, and then take that link that's below here. I'm going to put it in the, I'll just put it in the feed as well for those of you that are on Simple Soulful Circle, which is where I do these videos live. And I will link the Tadasana practice and go back in there. And even if you think you know it, do it anyways, because there's always something new to learn. So may you maintain and enhance the natural curves of your spine so your energy can flow freely through that central channel. Your heart stays open. You feel strong and stable in your hips and legs, and therefore you're more present for your everyday life. All right, everyone, have a beautiful day and enjoy practicing Tadasana. Present yourself well. Ta-da!